Hi guys, welcome to the podcast. So with me guys right now I have Tim, right? Tim, how are you doing, man?
Simon, yeah, absolutely amazing. Better and better, stronger and stronger, my friend. Thanks for
Yeah,
having me
Tim.
here.
It's a pleasure having you here, Tim. It's a pleasure. It's been something, as you know, it's been something that we've been wanting to do, but I'm glad we just finally had the time and we just getting on it right now. So without any further ado, Tim, could we please get into the podcast? Could you start by sharing a bit about your background?
Mm.
Yeah, could you please share more about that with us?
Yeah, so I was a typical corporate executive guy, 27 years in hospitality, and I started out from school, studied, and worked. And that was the focus, was climbing that corporate ladder. When I first started out, it was exciting. It was about travel. And then it was about the career path. And then it became all about the money. And then it became all about the stress and the burnout. And it went down pretty rapidly after that. So I walked out of corporate career after 27 years due
Okay.
to the amount of stress that I was under and on the verge of burnout. And although at the time I didn't know what it was, and this was it was actually the second time I'd started my own businesses. I'd first, after I was retrenched in 2008, I started my own business. And that was the first time I got into speaking and personal development. But then I got sucked back into the corporate world, chasing the big dollar, big bucks. And it was very much that environment, which was not conducive to who I am, but I did it for the money. That's what led me, a huge part of what led me to just that point of burnout.
Okay.
But then after I left there, it was a process of discovering who I was. So I had no real idea. Am I a corporate guy? I don't know. It was just finding that real purpose and that clarity of life. So it took me about 3 years to really start unpacking who I am, who I want to become, where am I going, what's my purpose, what are my values in life. And one of the amazing things that started to happen was certain little synchronicities kicked into place. It took time, and I didn't notice it then, but looking back, I can see it. And one of these was when I stumbled across breathwork. So
Okay.
I'm now what I call myself a breathwork alchemist. And I use the power of breathwork to create change. And I do this for entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, and effectively busy business professionals to
Okay.
help them avoid that stressed state that we get stuck into. Because you got to admit that we live in a very high strung, high stressed, and fast environment and world.
Yeah, exactly.
And we can get lost, right? And I was
Yeah.
lost for many years. So I've now, through breath work, learned the skills. And I understand what happened to me those years ago in corporate that ultimately was my downfall. My health was in the toilet. My relationship with my family was a disaster. And the business I was running was struggling as well because I couldn't see the solutions in the problem anymore.
Okay.
That's why I had to get out. So now I speak to corporates and also networks and events around how to avoid burnout and the signs of stress and some key tools and tips that you can use in order to mitigate some of those stressful things so that it doesn't impact your business and your health and family. So
Okay.
that's what I do right now. Yeah. And that's where the speaking comes in, as you said right at the beginning.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for sharing that with us, Tim. So Tim, you mentioned that you walked away, right, from the from your corporate career,
Mm.
and due to stress, right, and burnout. So now, Tim, could you please describe that moment and basically what was going through your mind at the time?
I remember it very clearly. It was just over 6 years ago. I was, so it was winter. It was April 2018. And I was sitting behind my desk, in my office, and it was late at night.
Okay.
And I just looked at all the papers sitting there on my desk. And all I saw were problems. And I just asked myself, well, what am I doing with my life? This is not what I envisaged my life was actually going to be like.
Okay.
And I knew that I needed to do something, but I had no idea what. as I've described already, my health was in the toilets. My relationships with my family was a disaster. I'd already had huge issues with my son because we just didn't connect. And when I was at home, there was always an argument because even though I was at home, I was never there. I was stuck in my head, brain fog, lack of clarity, lack of energy. And so this impacts all the relationships. And I knew back then I had to change. Something had to happen, but I didn't know what. I actually reached out to the owner of the business I was running, and it didn't go well. The conversation did not go well at all. And that led me to saying, then I'm out. I'm done. Because either I'm going to die, literally, I'm probably going to kill somebody, or even worse, I was going to get divorced. And that was just not something that was acceptable to me. So I got out. It was the easiest decision to make, but at the same time, the most difficult as well of my career.
Okay. No, and perfectly, that makes sense. In terms of, as you mentioned, that as you were even during that specific time, you were at a point where you actually struggled, and in terms of struggling, I simply mean that you didn't have time for your family, right? As much as you were there, but as you were saying, you weren't there, right? You were there, but you weren't there at the very same time. So you had to actually choose from between your job, between actually killing someone, or you literally, so that to me is something that I would simply say that it as much as you say it was an easy decision to make, but on my side I would simply say that it must have been, it would have been the most hardest decision that I would have to make at that specific point.
Very much so. It was easy because I knew what I had to do. I had to get out.
Oh, okay.
But it was difficult doing that. It was not an easy time of life. My stress levels did not go down afterwards. There was huge issues. I was running a massive business in South Africa for the owner who was overseas. And I had to make that choice, the business or my life and my family. So that was an easy decision to make. But it was very tough. It was hard to make that leap. A lot of people that I speak to get stuck in that fear state. Okay. What's going to happen? What happens with my income? What happens now with what are people going to think about me? What is the family going to say? All of these things. And I believe that this keeps a lot of people trapped. So what I ask is then of everybody to say, well, why am I here? Okay. Why am I actually doing what I'm doing? And who am I? Who is this making me? When I asked myself that question, I was so stressed. That night that I walked out, Simanya, I was so stressed, so tired, so angry that I couldn't even drive. Okay. I pulled over on the side of the road and I had to sit there on the tarmac. I took a photograph of myself sitting there. I said, one day I'm going to need this picture. And I sat there and I asked myself these questions of who am I? Because I became lost. I became sucked into this corporate world of the stressful environment that I identified with as being stressed. Family knew I was stressed. Friends knew I was stressed, but they saw this successful business entrepreneur, because I had my own businesses as well at the time. Okay. And just like I still do. So they saw this successful person running a massive business, beautiful house, nice cars, overseas holidays, dinners out every week. Wonderful. They saw that. Okay. But I was wearing a mask because inside I was dying, literally dying. So yeah, very challenging time. But here's the one key thing that I knew. I knew I was capable of more, and I was not going to find it staying there. I had to design my life and not leave it to default and just to somebody else to design for me. And it was my time. That was when I was, how old? I was 47 at the time. Okay. And that was enough. Yeah. So yes, difficult, but at the same time, I knew it was the right decision.
And that you needed to take. And also, just to add to that, it's you, as you actually mentioning right now, that you knew that it was a decision that you needed to take, but it was the a matter of implementation, that's where you were actually stuck, and a lot of people, right, and even myself, I did mention to you that um, sometimes I also myself was at a point where um, I knew what I needed to do, but it was just a matter of implementing it. Like, for instance, there's a lot of people out there that want to do something, but they just don't have it in them, or they don't have that specific confidence to say that this I will do this and this and this and that when this happens, and that is something that really happens a lot, so since it's something that you actually went through and you actually overcame it, because this is you right now, you didn't actually kill anyone. You are still, you
Still
you are
married.
still, exactly. So you are still here and I'm speaking to you right now. So what would you actually tell those people that get to that specific point where they know what they need to do, but they just don't know how to do it, or they don't have it in them to actually do it?
Well, one of the first things I would say to anybody is, don't necessarily do it the way that I did it.
Yeah.
There's alternatives. I didn't know at the time. I never had anybody to reach out to connect with. I never had a coach. I had my own business partners, but they never really quite understood. So I felt very lonely and had no one to lean on. I tried leaning on my boss, the business owner, and not a good idea. I look back now and I understand that he didn't even know what I was going through. I couldn't verbalize it. I just knew something had to change.
Yeah.
So I don't blame him at all for the way that it reacted. It was not pretty. But what I'd strongly suggest, anybody who's you're working in a job, maybe you've got your own business, but you're not finding that space, or you're not have that confidence or knowing the next step or the step to take, find a coach, somebody who can guide you, who's been through a lot of the processes that you're looking at, and they've overcome these hurdles.
Yeah.
Find somebody who can guide you. It is a lot. How can I say this? If I'd had a coach back then 6 years ago, I would have had a path to follow. I didn't have a path. It was just a desert. And I just went. And if it was the wrong direction, which it was most of the time, started a business, made great money, lost a lot of money. Started another one, made great money, lost a lot of money. Did that 4 times before realizing that something's got to change. Whereas if you've got somebody who is your mentor, your guide, your coach along the journey with you during that transitional stage and even beyond, that I think is an essential part. So never underestimate the value of reaching out and asking somebody outside of your environment, not a family member. They're too personal. Somebody outside who has got the experience and the expertise, and ask for help. And that's an essential part, because then you're not going to be so alone.
Yeah, that's true. That's true what you're actually saying. And I think for a lot of us, and by a lot of us, I simply mean entrepreneurs that have had to go through hurdles in their journey throughout the entrepreneurship space. I believe, especially the ones that didn't have any mentors, any assistance, basically, they would actually say the same thing that you're saying at this point.
Yep.
If even myself, I strongly actually say that, because I think when I heard the interview with Ian, that was actually something that I said, that in terms of needing of assistance, it's something that you need to jump to, because because sometimes, as you've mentioned, you had to walk a desert, and you, if you were taking the wrong way, then you would have to go to, and but if you actually went to someone that was there before and you actually asked that person for help, that person could have saved you, let's say, about 3 years
Oh,
of
yeah.
mistakes, right?
Yeah.
So
Correct.
exactly. So I also strongly believe that asking for assistance, and especially from someone that has the experience in terms of what you want to ask for, it's something that you need to actually lean into.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's such an important thing. When you look at any of these international entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs, be it Richard Branson, um,
Yeah.
you can name them. They've all had coaches. Many of them still have,
Yeah.
even though they are hugely successful. They've got somebody. You have a look at any sports star. They've all got coaches. They didn't do it on their own. There's no
It's
such
true.
thing
It's true.
as a self-made man. It just doesn't exist. You have a team behind you, with you, along with the journey. So you're right. If I'd had the foresight 6 years
Yeah.
ago to actually, the saying is cut a check for speed.
Exactly.
It's not free. You pay somebody for this because then there's an exchange of value. There needs to be that value exchange. They're more beholden on you ensuring your
Yeah.
success, and you're going to see value in what you get from them. So that's an important part of it as well. And you may see that as it's not a cost, it's not an expense, it's an investment. Right
Yeah.
there, you're investing in self. That's so important. But that investment will pay you off multiples over the years because you're going to get to where you want to be, who you want to become faster, more effectively, and hopefully more profitably as well. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. And so now, what would you basically say that were your biggest challenges or let me say during your transition from the corporate from the corporate executive side to finding your true calling?
At the time, I saw it as the failures, what didn't work.
Okay.
Now I look back and I go, those were my lessons.
True.
And changing the paradigm thinking about what happened. I lost a lot of money, family money, wealth, that it was deep, not fun. No money. I had to take a loan out. I had to borrow money from my 80-year-old parents who live in the UK to buy food. At 50, that's pretty demeaning. That's a low point. That's a very, very low point. But these were all just lessons. So I learned how not to make money for me. I learned what did not work. Very expensive university fees. But in the end, they all became signs and signals to say, Tim, you're going the wrong direction. The reason why you're not successful in that is because it's not your true path. And so when I was asking the questions, I was doing the questions being, who am I? What's my purpose? Why am I here on this planet Earth?
Okay.
How am I meant to be of service to society? There's got to be a better calling. All these questions I was asking. When asking these questions, those little synchronicities started to come into place. And that was breathwork was one of them. I did a lot of webinars online. Some were free, some were paid, from Tony Robbins to Dr. John DeMartini, Dr. Joe Dispenza. A lot of this information. I've loved personal development for years. And it was little things that started to fall into place that I was learning, that the picture started to form of who I am and who I actually want to become.
Okay.
And that became quite exciting. So it was very stressful. We traveled South Africa for 1.5 years in a van with our dogs just to find freedom. This was after the whole pandemic mess, just to get out so I could try and discover myself. So that travel also allowed for some clarity in my mind. And then there was a few catalysts, but the one that I want to speak on that was that moment of clarity was when I stumbled across breathwork, which was completely out of left field. I wasn't looking for this.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what it was all about. I thought you breathe. Big deal. And it came to me, I was 49, and I thought, well, I've got to be pretty good at this. I've been breathing for 49 years, right?
Yeah.
And it turned out that I was awful at it. In fact, the breathing state I was in had caused the near burnout. And I started to learn this, and that's what I found fascinating. So that's why it was one of those catalyst moments that gave me this clarity and understanding of what had happened to me when I was in corporate.
Okay.
And that there is a solution. So when I took this information about breathing, which can calm you if you're stressed and anxious, or can lift you if you're tired, just by changing how you breathe, this is when I suddenly realized, but hold on, we're all stressed. I was already doing coaching and speaking and presentations, and was struggling to really understand what was holding so many people back from taking that leap, just like I'd taken that leap, but what was holding them back? And it was stress, fear, doubt, self-criticism, worry, all of those things, which are intellectual things. And if you can process that with a clearer mind, you can see the solutions and you can see the answers. So that's one of those things that became those light bulb moments. Now I start to see what was my problem, which is the same problem as many other people are finding, but I've now got a solution. I need to share this.
Okay. And you know, as you're actually mentioning it right now, that you actually said that I won't actually say it the way that you did, but I think you'll get what I'm trying to say, right? So as you did mention that it was you when you learned more about breath work, right? That's when you started to even see that it just might have been another reason behind the burnout, right? So my question would be that maybe in what kind of a way, or yeah,
What's the impact? So you see, what
yeah,
happens is, and let me just start by saying something.
okay,
I failed biology at school. In fact, I was awful at school. So what I now learned is only over the past few years of understanding this amazing healing, natural healing machine that we've been gifted, which is our bodies, but we're not taught how to use it. So that's where I found this quite fascinating, that when you're in a stressed state, you breathe poorly. It's called fear, fight, and flight, where you breathe from your chest. Right? If you're anxious, stressed, panic, you breathe in your mouth.
okay.
Yeah? That's your chest. Now, when you breathe in this state, it increases your stress and anxiety because it limits the blood flow to your brain. Interesting. And when you're in this state for long, ongoing periods of time, this is where you lead with mental and physical issues. And it's those physical issues where then you start to get heart problems, blood pressure issues. The doctor may say you suffer from depression, or you can't sleep, or you're always angry. And the knock-on effect is because your breathing state has changed because of your initial stress or anxiety or trauma.
Okay.
So as soon as you then changing and controlling your breathing state when you're stressed, you limit that negative impact on your body. And when you limit that negative impact, you're able to think clearer. So simply by shutting your mouth and breathing through your nose is the first point for reducing your stress and anxiety.
Okay.
I didn't know this. So if you think about it, can I paint have we got time for a quick story here?
We do have time. We do have time.
So I want everybody who's listening to this, and Simon, yeah, you're going to do it with me.
Okay.
Imagine you're standing on a curb and you're about to cross the road.
Okay.
You look left, you look right, you look left, no cars. So you step out, and as soon as you step out, this car comes screaming past around the corner and nearly hits you. You jump back, grab your tools, you grab your chest, you grab yourself. In that moment, what happens? Do you breathe in through your mouth or your nose? Think about it. Right?
Through my mouth, yeah.
Take a deep breath in your mouth. And then when you start to panic, you go,
That's true, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Does your heart beat faster or slower?
Faster.
Faster. Does your blood pressure go up or go down?
It definitely goes up.
Definitely goes up.
Yeah.
Do you breathe into your belly or do you breathe into your chest?
To your chest.
To your chest. Like this, right?
Yeah.
So these are all our physical reaction signs to fear, fight, or flight. It's the way that our body has been built and designed.
Okay.
But now that car's gone. The danger has gone. So you calm down. Your nervous system settles. The stress hormones, which were pumping through your bloodstream that your body releases, cortisol and adrenaline, slows down. Your heart slows down. Your blood pressure slows down. You shut your mouth, you breathe through your nose. But here's our problem. 90% of society is walking around as if they're permanently being hit by a car 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We're not slowing down. We're not giving our bodies and our minds a chance to reset. Your nervous system is put on pressure consistently and continuously. Your heart is under pressure. Your blood pressure is up. Your brain is lacking the oxygen because your body is operating in fear, fight, flight state. Emails, internet, social media, 5G waves flooding your body all the time. Our poor diets, the lack of vitamins in the food, the stressed environments that we all living in, COVID, the next chaos, war, economic disaster, family drama. Are you feeling stressed yet?
Yeah. And that, yeah.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
So we're living in that stress state. What does this do over time? Your body is not designed to survive like that. And so eventually the stresses builds to ongoing anxiety,
Okay.
which leads to burnout. Now, it can take years. It took me years to get to that point, but it was that continuous build-up. And it's not a matter of taking a few days off. That doesn't change it because the drama and the stress and the anxiety is still there.
Okay.
Go on holiday for 2 weeks, you're coming back to the same environment.
So nothing would have changed.
Nothing would have changed. So your body's not having a chance to absolutely reset because you've still got that anxiety and that trauma which you're holding inside of you.
Okay.
And so we are a nation, a world of chronic overbreathers. Breathing in and out our mouth. Breathes in and out your chest, which is fear, fight, flight, etc. That's why I say the first step to reducing stress and anxiety breathe in and out your nose. It calms and it takes the oxygen to your belly, not your chest, which is rest and digest.
Okay.
But we don't. This is why so many entrepreneurs who are on the go all the time. You run your own business, Simanya.
Yeah.
If you're not doing it, it doesn't get done.
True.
In 3 years, you've created a phenomenal brand. Without that balance and giving yourself that time where your nervous system and your mind can just calm, over years, it builds up. And what a lot of people don't realize is, especially young entrepreneurs, you've got the energy, you've got the vision, you've got the drive, you've got the passion, you go, go, go. And you create success and it's fast and you're 25 and you're 30 and you're doing very well. And then by the time of 35 and 36, and now you're starting to run out of energy because it takes years to build up. So when you're 40, you feel the impact of that that you created and that work that you did when you were 30, 31, 32, 33, because it can take years. And we don't realize that.
Okay. And that is actually something that is new. And it's really interesting, you know. It's really, really interesting. That I have to say. That I have to say. So and yeah, you I think you we did speak together, right? And you mentioned that you actually have developed a signature program that is called the professional pointer program, right?
Right.
So could you please tell us more about this program and who can
Absolutely.
actually benefit from it?
So, as I mentioned earlier, I've been doing speaking and mentoring and coaching since 2008, and
Yeah.
I've built many different programs and learned from so many of these expert guys. I've mentioned a few of their names. Jim
Yeah.
Rohn's another one, John Maxwell, phenomenal thought leaders. And over the years, it took me about 5 months, 6 months. I put together the program, which was effectively my journey.
Okay.
My journey from going from stressed out corporate executive to entrepreneur to discovering my path, discovering my passion and my purpose. Then during this process, while I've taken all of this information and put it together, this is when I started to come up with a model. And the model's called the self-centric cycle. Now, what this basically means is it puts self at the center of everything that you do, yourself being who you are. So you may have heard of a very well-known speaker and leadership expert called Simon Sinek.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
He wrote the book, it starts with why. Phenomenal book. I used it for years in my networks and my teachings, understanding why you do something is core. Okay? Why is your motivation? That's your inspiration. That's the thing that gets you going. And why is not money. It's what the money gets you that's your why. And finding that is an essential part. So he speaks about your why and how is the activities you're doing, and the what. The what is your business model. Now, when we look at it personally, not in a business environment, what Simon Sinek talks about is he says, you focus on why you do something. So for many years, that's what I did. I had the dream and the goal, and that's what I taught on. But what I've found over the years is that's more important, and this was my personal journey, which then I've shared with many clients to find that this is the core center, the center of it, is who you are. Knowing who you are is paramount to knowing who you want to become. When you take who you are or who you want to become, me, for example, professional speaker, international speaker. One of my key things, Tony Robbins, would be an environment or a good reflection of somebody who I would like to be very similar to on stage. I mean, the man's like, he holds a crowd like you cannot believe. It's amazing. So if I say, right, who I'd like to become would be some of those skills that Tony Robbins has got. So now when I attach my why, my reason, why do I want to do this? Because I want to impact lives internationally, that people can know that they can design their own life. That would be a why. Yeah? Now, when I combine who I am or who I will become with why, then you become unstoppable. The how you do it and what you do will find you on your journey. You don't have to focus on how.
Okay.
You don't have to focus on what. When you know who you are and why you do what you do, the rest falls into place. So that puts the self at the center of the cycle of why, how, and what.
Okay.
And everything feeds back. So when you're now activating your who, you're working towards it, you're learning, you're growing, you're developing, you're talking, speaking to you in South Africa. Tomorrow I'm doing an international call to India. I've got a network in Cape Town I'm going to tomorrow. So I'm now starting to fulfill how I'm going to get to my who. I know why I'm doing it. I'm impacting lives. That's my why. And then as soon as now I start to discover my why, my who grows. But it all falls back to who you are at the center of this ever-evolving cycle.
Okay.
I hope I've given you a description. Normally I show a visual and I draw it out. But I think the key thing to understand is, for anybody who is looking and saying that they believe they're capable of more. You're in a job, you want to become an entrepreneur. You've got an idea, but you don't know how to get there. Understand who you are first and foremost. Now, I'm not talking about who your teachers told you are, or your parents told you are, siblings or society, the government. No. Who? Not the who in here, the who in here.
Yeah.
The who in your heart. Know who you are. When you know who you are, then saying, okay, now I know who I am. Who do I want to become? Who is the ideal version of Simonier?
Okay.
What does that dream look like? And then when you know what that dream looks like in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years time, who do you become? When you know who you want to become, now you've got a plan. You can start to say, how do I go from who I am to who I want to become? That's a journey. There's a gap.
Yeah.
I call it my goal activation plan. That's that journey. It's like that GPS says, here you are now. I want to drive to
Cape Town,
wherever, Cape Town.
Yeah.
And the GPS says, this is the road you go. And it goes up and down, over there, and up, around, because it's never a straight line. It's not linear.
Yeah.
That's the strategy. That's now, how do you go from here to there?
Okay. Thank you for sharing.
That's the program that I've developed, and which I share with a lot with entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Who perhaps get a bit lost, or like me, for many years, I was following a business plan for the wrong reasons. I was chasing money.
Okay.
Yes, money is important. Of course I want money. But my sole reason for doing what I was doing, even when I was in corporate, was for the money. Because I thought the money will buy me the lifestyle I want. Yes, it gave me a good lifestyle. But because it was not aligned to who I am, it didn't follow my true values. The business I was running was not my passion.
Okay.
That's what leads to stress. So if you're not following your values, your purpose, your truth inside, you will be stressed.
Okay.
That's the reality.
And thank you for sharing that. Thank you very much for sharing that. And also now, what are some common misconceptions about stress and that you do address in your program that you can think of right now?
Now, one of the big things is that stresses are external. Okay. External factors outside your influence. Government chaos, COVID, family drama, economic mess. You can't control it, right? True. But you can control how you react to the stress, to these stresses. True. And when you learn how to control your reaction, it can turn a stressful situation into a situation purely by how you change your reaction.
Okay.
You can have two people, same situation. One reacts angry and frustrated, and they get upset and they shout and and the other person doesn't. And they go, okay, it's not nice, but you know what? We can deal with this. Same situation, two completely different reactions. So if we can learn to control how we react, and yes, as strange as it may sound, Simanya, to everybody listening, you can actually control how you react by changing how you breathe.
Okay.
Go back to that car example. Fear, fight, flight, anger, stress, worry, fear, doubt. You breathe through your mouth. You breathe fast. First thing, shut your mouth. Second thing, slow down your breathing. Suddenly you can start to see a solution where before you only saw a problem.
Okay.
Yes, it can, as ridiculous as it may sound, be as simple as that in that moment. Shut your mouth. I tell people all the time, shut your mouth. But I'm actually being kind. I love you lots. It's for your own best interest.
Okay. And so um, how can the breath work be integrated into a busy professional's daily routine then?
Oh man, that's such a great question. You know, that is the key question. And here's the thing. It takes literally 60 seconds. Not time.
Okay.
Just 1 minute. Should we do a breath? Do you want to do a breath work exercise? Should we do something quickly?
Yes, please.
Should we do one? Okay. I'm going to share with you one of the most, I'm just getting my timer out over here because we're going to do just for 1 minute. And everybody
Okay.
listening can follow through as well because Simone is going to be doing it. So what I'm going to share with you is box breathing. It's
Okay.
a very simple technique. And I'll I'll explain it to you, and then we'll actually do it just for 1 minute. All right.
Okay. No
So
problem.
what you're going to do is I'm going to count you in. You're just going to let out the air out. You're just going to breathe out calmly. And then you're going to breathe in through your nose to the count of 4. So imagine going up like the side of a box. So you breathe in through your nose. Then you're going to hold your breath for a count of 4. You're going to breathe out through your nose for the count of 4. You're going to hold your breath for the count of 4. It's like a box. 4 seconds, 4 seconds, 4 seconds, 4 seconds. And you're going to repeat that just for 1 minute. And then we'll see how you feel. You ready?
Okay.
Okay. So I'll explain to you and I'll count for you. So sit with your feet flat on the floor, arms comfortably by your side. You can close your eyes. And in your mind, you can also count with me as I'm speaking. Okay. So in your head, you're going to count.
Okay. So should I sit down or am I fine right now?
You're perfect as you are. Perfect as you are.
No
problem. Perfect as you are. Okay, so I'm going to count you in from 3 to 1. Just let out your air, shut your eyes, and then breathe through your nose. Okay?
Okay.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Let your air out and breathe through your nose. 2, 3, 4. Hold your breath. 2, 3, 4. Out slowly. 2, 3, 4. Hold your breath. 2, 3, 4. In through your nose. 2, 3, 4. Hold your breath. 2, 3, 4. Out. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. In through your nose. Hold. Out. Hold. In. Hold. Out. And come back to normal breathing. How are you feeling?
I feel like there is a bit of a release in my body because I can feel it's a bit there isn't any, how can I put it? There's not so much weight.
Nice.
You know? Yeah. So there's not much weight. It just feels a bit calm a bit. Yeah.
A little bit calm, a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what you can do. So if you're a business person and you're about to go and do a presentation, or you got to do a talk, or you're just feeling that anxiety, you got a deadline and your mind's going a bit crazy, you can just literally sit and for 60 seconds, close your eyes. And that's all you need to do. That's one of many. I call them breath hacks. I've got quite a few of them, which I'll gladly share with you and your listeners and your viewers.
Yeah.
I've got a book, in fact, which I'll share with everybody. It's my latest book, ebook, From Burnout to All Out in 60 Seconds, which explains a lot of what I've shared with you and a lot of what I've learned, including a couple of very key breath hacks that you can use in different circumstances, even ones to help you sleep better if you struggle with sleep as well. Very powerful.
And that is actually something that I really, really struggle with. You know, I actually have to be watching either a video or listening to music for me to be able to actually sleep. I need to exhaust my eyes for me to be able to sleep. So it is actually something that, you know.
Do you find it, is it your mind that's busy all the time?
It's definitely my mind. I'm always thinking of something.
You're an entrepreneur. That's what we
That's
do.
true.
So there's a very simple breathing technique called 4-7-8. Have a look for it
Okay.
in my book there. 4-7-8. That is one for resonance. So it calms the mind.
Mm.
And one of the things that if you go to YouTube, there's a lot of breathing things. But one thing that a lot of the breathing coaches out there don't explain is when you're breathing in a certain way, count in your mind as well. You see, when you're counting and breathing, you can't think at the same time.
Okay.
So all that stuff that you're thinking about, as soon as you're focusing on your breathing and you're counting 1, 2, 3, 4, your brain's not thinking about what you were before. That helps
Okay.
to calm.
Okay.
All right.
I will definitely check it out on your book. I will definitely check it out. Because most of the time, you tend to hear people saying that you need to do meditation for you to be able to clear out your mind.
Yeah.
Even that, it's been something that I have been trying, but I can't actually do it. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but
No, it's Semanya, for a lot of people who have an active life, who have their own business, who have an active brain, that calming down and just meditating is not easy. So I've got something which is what I specialize in called transformational breathwork journeys,
okay.
which are like very deep guided breathwork sessions. It's like having a very deep guided meditation, which calms the mind and allows the body to heal and release the trapped energy and traumas that we carry in ourselves.
Okay.
So this is, these little breathing techniques like box breathing are fantastic for that moment. But I want to create that transformation. Now, by doing that, we need to get in and deal with the root cause of what is causing you to react in a stressful situation the way that you do. What is that trigger that
On my
sets
side.
you off? Well, from anybody listening, is there's something where you will react in a stressful way, somebody else won't. Well, there's a reason for that. And there's a way that you can clear that out through what's called a holotropic breathing session, which is a deep breathing period. So that's what I specialize in, especially when it comes to people who are very high strung and stressed, to clear out that trauma and anxiety and stresses so that you go into a situation a lot calmer.
Okay.
Those are powerful. Those are powerful. I'd love you to join one. I'm going to invite you. We're going to invite you for one. And if anybody's listening here is interested in finding out a bit more, reach out to me. I'll gladly share so you can find out what it means to sleep peacefully and wake up with more energy and more focus and clarity, which was my story. Very much so.
Yeah.
When I first did
it. I will be expecting that invite. And also, I'm actually looking at the time right now. We actually set it up for an hour. And looking,
we've been speaking for an hour. That's beautiful.
Yeah, and that's what I'm actually noticing right now, that it's actually almost an hour now. It's just a pity that we almost there. But I'm just are you is there anything that you actually have to get into right now?
I've got something shortly.
Oh, okay. I only had 3 questions that I wanted to
Go
actually
for
ask
it,
you.
please. Let's cover those questions while we're here. What have you got for me?
Okay. So basically, as we are speaking right now, you are actually actually talking about living life by design, not by default, right? So what does that concept mean to you, and how can others start to implement it in their own lives?
Sure, that's a great question. So living your life by default means that you don't have a strategy or a plan. You're following the standard programmed narrative. Go to school, get an education, maybe go to university, get a job, get a girlfriend, boyfriend, get married, have children, go into debt, buy a car, go into more debt, buy a house, go into more debt, and just follow that. That's leaving it to default and just doing what society does. The default. Okay. Design means what we've been speaking about today. We're saying, but who am I? Why am I here? What is my role and purpose in society and the world on this planet? There's got to be something more that I can give as opposed to just having a job. Sure, maybe you're a teacher, very valuable. maybe that's your calling. But if it isn't, you're going to be stressed. So it's then about identifying that who you want to be. So then you can start to design your life that you would like. And that was very much my in my journey in 2008. I first started to discover that at the age of 36, that there was more to the world and business than I thought. I'd only ever known hospitality. So I started my own business when I was 36, and then I had another one at 38. And I then got sucked back into the corporate world, which meant that I just left it to default. Life happened. But that's when I hit burnout, or nearly hit burnout, because I wasn't following my designed path, my values, my passion of who I am.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. And due to that time, I would really love to get into it, but let me just ask another question. So thank you for sharing that. And also looking back on your journey, what advice would you give to someone currently feeling stuck in the corporate job and looking to make a change?
The first thing is start something now, even if you don't know what it is. Just begin something. Do something about it. That doesn't mean walk out of your job like I did. Join a group, join a network, do network marketing, go outside of your normal comfort zone, away from the normal people that you know, that you socialize with, that you work with every day. Do something different and start now. And if you get it wrong, it's not a failure or a mistake. It's a lesson.
Yeah.
And you're still going to be further on than you were before you did nothing. If you do nothing, you have nothing. If you do something and it doesn't work out, you now know what didn't work. Congratulations. But start. And as we mentioned earlier on, right at the beginning, find a coach, reach out to somebody. There's many people out there. Find somebody that you resonate with, that you connect with, who can share with you. It doesn't have to be me. I'm not talking about me. I'm saying that there's multiple people out there. Maybe you already know somebody in the family or outside your family, a family friend or somebody who is successful in a different way. Go and ask them what they do. Phone them up and say to them, John, James, Mary, I'd like to buy you a coffee. I want to ask some questions about what you do that makes you successful. And I'm telling you, if they're the right person, they'll say with great pleasure, and they'll even pay for the coffee.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. And so how do you actually maintain balance and avoid burnout in your current life as a breath alchemist and an international speaker?
Yeah, so having been there before, I'm not going back again. I'm a 4:30 guy. I wake up 4:30. And that first hour and a half is me, my time.
Yeah.
This is my meditation time. This is when I do my breathing. I've got daily breathing practices, and I do my journaling every single morning. Sometimes on a Sunday, I'll sleep in. That's my one day that I just do whatever. And then after that, where I live in a beautiful part of South Africa in Langebaan on the lagoon.
Okay.
As soon as the sun's coming up, the dogs, my wife, myself, we're on the lagoon. We're having a walk. And that's where I do a breath activation exercise as the sun comes up, because the sun has got the most beautiful energy when it first comes over the horizon. So that's the point, is grounding myself, finding every day, doesn't matter how busy I am, where I'm talking, what I'm busy with, every morning, have that routine. That sets my day off beautifully.
Okay. Thank you very much for sharing that. As much as I would love to go through with it, but we have to understand you know. So I think so. Where can the audience be able to get your book, your ebook, right?
Yeah.
And also you also mentioned that you are having a complimentary stress release breathwork journey coming up on the 12th
I've got one on the 12th
of June, right? Yes.
I do them once a month, every month. Yes, I got one on the
every month. Okay.
Yeah.
So how can they actually be able to participate on that breathwork journey? And also the book, how can they actually get the book? And then also where can the listeners find more information about your work? your programs, and of course your upcoming events?
Fantastic. I love it. Simple answer. Connect with me. I like to get a one-on-one connection with the person so that I can find out where they're at, what their problems are, and then be able to guide in the best direction. So reach out to me, tim@professionalpointer.com, my email address, easy enough, or on my website, professionalpointer.com.
Yeah.
Simple enough. And I'll also share a link where people can, with you, where you can just request the book. But if you want to join one of my journeys, the complimentary journey, I'd love to connect with you. That's when I'll book you in on that session. So connect, reach out to me, and let's have a chat. I love connecting, and that's an important part of understanding the space and the place that you're at right now.
That's true. That's true. Okay. No problem. And also on my side, I'll leave the links down below. So I have to thank you. Thank you very much, Tim, for getting on this podcast interview with me. And I really hope that the next few upcoming years and throughout the year, you keep on doing what you do best. And I hope more people keep on getting their message, So thank you very much, Tim. Thanks, man.
And Simon, thanks to you for helping spread the message. Respect and appreciate you. Thanks for the invite.
No problem, man. Thank you very much.